So, welcome to LiberalViewer First Wednesday Live. This is my live Q&A I do on the first Wednesday of every month where I answer viewer questions, both questions posted before the show and questions that I get in the comments section if I can get a chance to read it during the show. I want to start off covering some breaking news. I got a question about grand juries earlier, and the breaking news was a New York grand jury decided not to indict this police officer who put a chokehold on Eric Garner in New York. I actually want to start off showing a little bit of the video. The entire incident, or not the entire incident, but a lot of the incident was caught on video. I put a link down to the full video and some news stories. I'm just going to show the video part of this is what happened to Eric Garner that grand jury in New York decided not to indict today here.
Wait for what? Every time you see me, you want to mess with me. I'm tired of it. It stops today.
This guy right here is forcibly trying to lock somebody up for breaking up a fight.
Everybody standing here, they told you I didn't do nothing. I did not sell nothing. Because every time you see me, you want to harass me, you want to stop me, trying to sell cigarettes. I'm minding my business, officer. I'm minding my business. Please just leave me alone. I told you the last time. Please just leave me alone. Please, don't touch me. Don't touch me, please.
Hold on.
Don't touch me, please.
Came over.
Do not touch me.
Damn, man.
Give your hand, buddy.
Where your hand, buddy? I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
Once again, police beating up on people. Back up right here.
Back up, then get on that step.
Okay.
Back up.
All he did was break up a fight. And this is what happens for breaking up a fight. This shit is crazy.
Everybody back up, back up.
Something's wrong with him.
He can't breathe.
Yeah, he couldn't breathe. You heard him say, I can't breathe. Like I said, I put a link down to the rest of that video, and then some news reports are also included in that video about the death of Eric Garner. And the breaking news today was that the grand jury in New York decided not to indict Eric, the police officer who put that chokehold on Eric Garner. Here's a question I got from Noel on December 2nd. For Wednesday, perhaps you could explain grand juries. I doubt most people understand the process. Well, one thing you have to understand, grand juries are not uniform across the country. In the federal system, you actually have a right to a grand jury in the Bill of Rights. You have a right to have your case go to a grand jury, which decides whether or not to charge you. But that is one of the few rights in the Bill of Rights that the Supreme Court decided isn't a fundamental right and doesn't have to be imposed on the states. So it only applies to the federal government. States don't have to give you a grand jury if it's not important in that state. That's why in the Missouri case with the death of Michael Brown, the shooting of Michael Brown, how I talked several times about how the prosecutor there, Bob McCullough, did not have to take that case to the grand jury. He could have charged it by information, he could have done all possible charges like involuntary manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter, second-degree murder. He could have charged all three at the same time, taken it to a preliminary hearing, put forth the evidence there in public for everyone to see, and then let a judge decide if there was probable cause, because there's no right to a grand jury in Missouri. In a lot of states, there's no right to a grand jury. The way it works in Missouri is where I'm licensed to practice law. I practiced law for a couple of years there, or a few years there, and there are 12 grand jurors, and it takes 9 grand jurors to charge someone with a crime. 9 out of the 12 have to vote for the charge. So that means that actually there could have been 8 grand jurors who thought that Officer Darren Wilson should be charged with something in that grand jury in St. Louis County, Missouri. But even if it was 8 for charging him and 4 against, that means no charge in Missouri. So any 4 jurors could have stopped 4 grand jurors could have stopped that charge from happening in Missouri. In New York, it's a little different. In New York, there are 23 grand jurors, and it only takes 12 for a charge, which is a majority, 12 of 23. So if that means that there were not 12 grand jurors in New York who thought that tape I just played, and of course they heard from the officer, and he's made a sort of a more remorseful statement afterwards than Officer Darren Wilson did in St. Louis County from the Ferguson Police Department. And it sounds like maybe he would argue to the grand jury that it was a mistake. But one thing you have to understand about a grand jury, it's not like a regular jury, and it's not like a regular trial, because there's no judge there. There's no opposing counsel. It's all one side. It's all the prosecutor. And so if the prosecutor wants to put on certain evidence, that's the evidence. In some places, grand jurors can ask questions, and I think the grand jurors will ask questions. But of course, they're not lawyers, and so they're not going to ask the most incisive cross-examining questions. And you can see that in the transcript from the grand jury in St. Louis County. But anyway, that's the way a grand jury works, is that the prosecutor brings whatever evidence the prosecutor wants to bring, makes whatever arguments, puts whatever law the prosecutor wants to put in front of the grand jury, and it's usually just it doesn't really have any meaning. They say that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich if a prosecutor asks them to. And I mean, it was originally supposed to be a check on an overzealous prosecutor, because they couldn't get a charge unless they got these 12 ordinary people from the community to go along with them, or at least some percentage of them. And I don't know if grand juries have ever, or in a very long time, served that function, but it seems like the function they serve instead is when a prosecutor isn't overzealous, it's an excuse for why there's not going to be any sort of prosecution. But anyway, that's my opinion on that. I see that I do have about 15 people or something like that watching now, and I want to get to another question that here's one from Terry Alfer, who seems to ask me a question about every month, and this one is on net neutrality. I wanted to, question for December. As Obama is now reiterating his promise to preserve net neutrality, there's been a significant backlash against net neutrality, and with some links, I found articles which argue that we've seen net neutrality all wrong, and my question is, do any of these claims in these articles have any merit? And there's some links to PolitiFact and to FreedomWorks and several different things there. And I talked about net neutrality a couple weeks back when I had some clips of Al Franken on CNN's State of the Union on my Sunday show. And I pretty much agree with net neutrality. I mean, there is like a kernel of truth to some of the claims against net neutrality, but it's really not that much there. One thing I've seen argued is that the system isn't broken right now, so why should we put the government in charge? They're just going to mess it up. And I guess there's a little bit of a worry to that. I mean, it's putting the FCC in charge of the internet, but some people go too far in that, and they think that they're going to start censoring what people can say on the internet like they do on broadcast television. But the legal basis for that censorship it's based on a case from George Carlin about the 7 words you can't say on television or the radio, and the Pacifica case that the Supreme Court heard. And the reason that they allow the FCC to censor what people say on broadcast television and on broadcast radio is because there's a limited spectrum, and it's the public airwaves, and there could be children listening, and there are all sorts of like special circumstances that only apply to broadcast TV and radio that don't apply to something like the internet. And it's more like the phone company. In fact, they're sort of classifying it as utility, kind of like electricity or the phone company, which, although the phone company was deregulated, but just because the FCC regulates the phone company doesn't mean that they're going to censor what people say on their telephones. So it's more about making sure that the big internet companies don't start letting some people get faster access to the internet than others, and I just don't think that the people who are against net neutrality, their arguments about government setting prices, that I don't think that's really going to happen. It's just more about making sure that everything gets onto the internet at the same speed, and that small startups like YouTube was at one point can broadcast their videos online at the same speed as some big company like Google. That was the argument that Al Franken made back on CNN State of the Union, that YouTube got the chance to beat out Google Video and then got bought by Google because it got to go on the internet at the same speed as Google did, even though it was a small startup, over a pizza place or whatever. I can't remember where they started up YouTube, but anyway, so that's my answer to the net neutrality question. I hope that was helpful for Terry Alther there. And then I also got this third question. This was by a private message. I try not to take private message questions, but it's about pennies. It says pennies cost 1.1 cents to produce. I put a link down in the video description to a CGP Gray. Did I get the name of the channel right? Where did that one go? I put a link down there to a video called Death to Pennies that actually says it costs 1.8 cents to produce pennies, and there are a lot of problems with pennies. He asks like a couple questions. I want to know, do you think abolishing the penny would be an unwise decision to save the government fractions of pennies? And more importantly, if the government decide to abolish the penny, would you cry? And it talks about how it would eliminate jobs at the mint and transport jobs to get rid of pennies. But actually, pennies cost the economy more than just the fact that they cost more to produce than they're worth. It also slows down the economy. If you look at that video I put a link to in the video description, it talks about how it slows down commerce in a lot of different ways to have people trying to use pennies, and people can't even use them in a lot of situations. So the smart thing would be to get rid of the penny, but the problem is I don't think any politicians will ever vote to do it, because people will look at it too simplistically and think that businesses are going to all round up and they're going to be losing all those cents, and they won't see the bigger picture of how it will make the economy more productive to get rid of pennies. But so I guess that's my answer on the penny question. I'm going to go see now if I can read what you all are posting here without messing up my... Let's see. I scroll up these... I can hardly see the... Let me see. I'm having a lot of problems being able to read the comments you're posting. They switched a few weeks back. Let's see. Cruise2 says, LB, do you think Robert McCullough, the St. Louis prosecutor, should have been excused due to his conflict of interest with his ties to law enforcement? Well, yeah, I think a lot of people called for Bob McCullough to step down. They, theoretically, the governor could still appoint a special prosecutor, or even the head of the circuit court, the 21st Circuit Court, Judicial Circuit of Missouri there, could appoint a special prosecutor, though I don't think that's going to happen. I actually read an interesting article about this one man's fight in Wisconsin after, and this was after his son was killed by police, and his son was actually white, not black, but he ended up working with a lot of African American activists to get this law passed in Wisconsin, so that now there's always some outside review when there's a police killing. And I think that's true, because the police have a really insular relationship with the district attorney. It's just part of the job. The police officers are almost always the witnesses in the criminal cases. The district attorney brings they do a lot of the investigation work for the district attorney or the prosecutor. It's not all that surprising that when the police officers end up as possible defendants, that prosecutors see them as their own and don't prosecute them the same way they prosecute everyone else. And so, yeah, I definitely think there should be some kind of outside special prosecutor in the case of police shootings, especially say lethal police shootings, or I don't know if you want to narrow it down, and the body cameras. I think that would also help. But let me see if I can scroll down and find another question. Let's see. I'm scrolling through here. See if I have. It seemed, as usual, it looks like you're all arguing with others, with each other in there. I'm finding it hard to find a question. It looks like people are commenting on what I said. So I guess I'll finish up the show. I went through a few good issues. Oh, I saw someone in there asking about my Sunday show, what time it's going to be, and I actually am not going to know that until Sunday. I will have some stuff to be able to upload from the ACLU annual meeting that I'm going to. Professor Pamela Samuelson, who's a pioneer of digital rights and online rights, is going to be one of the speakers, and I'm almost sure I'll be able to upload her speech at some point, either Sunday or Monday. But I will also be doing my show, and it just depends on how much of it I can get done, how soon. I think the earliest I'll possibly be able to do it would be like maybe 2 or 3 a.m. on Monday morning, and I might be doing it as late as 10 a.m. on Monday morning Pacific time, but I will still be doing my clip roundup. It just, I'm going to have to finish it up on Sunday evening at some point, and then wake up real early on Monday morning to broadcast it all for you, so look for that. And if you're watching this show as a recorded show, I will put up... no, not that side. Over on this side, I will put up a little link where you can donate to keep my show going. I don't put any extra commercials in the live Wednesday show, but I appreciate all of you who join me for the live show here and ask questions. I see I got almost up to 30 people here at the end, and that's good for the live show. And I hope to be also uploading a video on... I got a question about that, about the Sam Harris quote that I promised I would be making a video on. Things got kind of out of hand with some of my responsibilities for the ACLU, some internal reorganization stuff I've been working on, and that's delayed a lot of stuff. And I did put up those videos about Ferguson, but I will still be making that video. It's partway done about Sam Harris's quote from the End of Faith there, that book that I still have up there just to remind me that I need to make that video. And like I said, I appreciate all of you who join me live or who are watching as a recorded show, and I will be doing this on the first Wednesday of January, which I don't know when that is, but at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, and my Sunday live clip roundup usually at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, although will be delayed this week. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you all around the internet.